We got another top tier SEC matchup. This one's really interesting. Ole Miss heads on the road at LSU after the craziness in week 6. I think we're cutting Ole Miss team some slack, wouldn't you say? After that Kentucky loss, I think people are maybe pulling back some of their quick reactions to what we think this Ole Miss team could be. LSU, on the other hand, has just quietly been under the radar. Everybody saw them in that South Carolina game, saw them in USC in Vegas week 1. I don't think we really know what we're exactly getting out of this team yet. So this is a really interesting matchup, a top 25 matchup in Baton Rouge. Again, at night, ABC. It's going to be just another awesome matchup. JP, what are your initial thoughts when you look at this one?
Yeah, I'm high on this Ole Miss team still to this point, understanding that the Kentucky loss really put a wrench in their plans to probably be a higher ranked team and at a better spot to get in at large. But I think this is an interesting matchup here because LSU's defense has improved. I understand they haven't been as threatened. South Carolina found some ways to score on them, and Ole Miss has found the ability to score on a lot of people. But I don't think their offensive line's great still to this point. I think there's a real opportunity for Ole Miss to score points, but give some up as well. I'm going to go to the other side. If LSU's got a really good offensive line, and they've been very good offensively the entire year, there is a spot here where Ole Miss traditionally loses this one. This is the one you kind of look at and you're like, get over that hump. In a lot of ways, LSU is just kind of sitting there waiting for an opportunity at this spot with zero spotlight on them, still winning games, doing what they're supposed to do against opponents they're supposed to beat, and they're waiting for this. And I think there's a real opportunity for Ole Miss to get on the right foot and a real opportunity for LSU to just stop it where it lays and be like, hey, we're still here. We're still a very talented football team with the hires defensively. It's been really good. Just getting guys in the right spot goes a long ways. Maybe they're not at the athlete prowess that they're used to being as an LSU defense, but I think this is getting better and better. And it's just a really hard spot for Ole Miss to just go in there and act like nothing happened and win this one.
Interesting spot for the LSU defense, as this feels like their first true test since losing Harold Perkins. Now, there are some experts out there that think that might be an upgrade. I don't want to really speak on behalf of that because Perkins is just a freak athlete, but maybe it stands true. We'll have to see this Saturday. Reese, this was your game of the year last year, if you remember right. Now, I don't think this is going to be a 65-55 matchup or whatever the hell it was last year. I think it's going to be kind of opposite sided. What do you think on this one?
This is one where you look at that LSU defense, and having this at home, I think, is massive. You'll have that actual Death Valley feel to it. I think that's going to hardest place to play in college football other than Rice Eccles. But I think that's a huge advantage for Blake Baker in this squad. You've seen LSU, like the blueprints out there, like this defense is still not nearly as improved as they were hoping it was. So that you saw that USC and South Carolina game where they were able to put up points. Ole Miss has kind of looked out of sorts the last 2 weeks. I mean, you lose at home to Kentucky. Yep. You have that win last week, and you did win that. It was 27-3. That was a good win. But, Jackson Dart didn't look his usual self. I think he would complete under 50% of his passes. Trey Harris left the game with an injury. I think he's still questionable for this week. I'm not 100% sure if he's back or not. So, that's the thing you factor in, too, because if your best player is out, he leads the nation in receiving yards, that makes that secondary LSU look even better, too. So, I think there's a lot of things going on you factor into this football game. Nuts Myers look great. LSU, that offense is still, going to be able to go in there and put up some points. But I think this is a great test. Let's see what that Ole Miss defense is actually like. If you can do it back-to-back weeks, like I said, I used last week, I talked about how Ole Miss had game tape out for the entire week about how people were saying their defense was soft. They can't take a hit. Lane Kiffin can't coach. Can you do it back-to-back weeks and go on the road and win another football game in a very hostile environment? I think this Ole Miss squad is they've lost their last 7 on the road in Death Valley too. So the stigma there too, and I think it's a tall task, but they might be for it.
Good poll there. And as somebody who had South Carolina and the points at home last week, when you look at the box score, you look at the final score, you would have thought Ole Miss just routed them from the beginning. It was a lot closer than the score really appeared. I do think you made a good point, Reese, that this Ole Miss offense just has not gotten a rhythm, specifically in the passing attack. But LSU ranks 97th in passing yards per game on defense. So maybe this is the time to finally get the wheels going again. Jackson Dart's last 2 starts, 14 for 27, 18 for 27. kind of surprising he hasn't thrown the ball more than 30 times, especially when you have a Lane Kiffin high-flying offense. But I will say one thing that stuck out to me last week is that I thought the Ole Miss kind of solidified its physicality and its legitimate, dudes on that roster as they kind of slowed down South Carolina. And then on the other side, does LSU finally have a go-to back? Like the Caden Durham kid rushed for 128 yards. I know it's South Alabama, but I think that's the one position this team really needs to shine offensively because we know they have the receivers with Kyron Lacey. You have Garrett Nussmeier. The offensive line is NFL caliber guys. I think they just need to run the ball more consistently. So maybe they get it going here. They're going to have a test. Let's go Reese. Reese, start us off quick. Let's go prediction time on this one in Baton Rouge.
I really, really want to take Ole Miss in this spot because I do think they'd be a fun team to have around at the end of the year. But if you're going to give me the points, it's 2.5 on here, but I saw today at 3.5. Are we doing 2.5 or are we doing 3.5?
We will take whatever happens Wednesday night when we usually record.
Okay, well, I see LSU. I see 3.5 right now. I think it's a tough place to go into. It's Death Valley. Things get weird there. I think there's going to be points. We'll see what that Ole Miss defense is like. I'll take LSU in this spot to at least cover. I don't know a fucking score prediction. I couldn't give you one, but I think LSU's going to – I think if you're giving me 3.5, I think LSU's going to cover this number, if they win or they lose. I think they're going to cover it at least.
You gave me that stat on LSU and the last 7 games Ole Miss has played in Baton Rouge at night. Yeah. Give me LSU here.
Dang it, guys.
It just feels like a spot. This Ole Miss team doesn't get it done. They haven't. This is a more legitimate test than the Kentucky game. Like I would completely 360 the way I think about this Ole Miss team being a college football playoff contender. If they, you're right. 360 would be back where it was. Good poll. But if they do get it done, I really think that this team is good enough to get that, I don't know, 11th or 12th spot. And right now that's where LSU's sitting. I think they're sitting at 13 or something in the AP poll. So JP, you had some comments. I'm assuming
I thought it was going to be unique on the LSU pick. And now I'm worried with even doing it because
Parks is going to say Parks will do it. He's a friend.
Here's the deal. There's road favorites everywhere this week. I don't know if you've gotten this trend so far.
Yep.
But this is the second game in a row where we have a short road favorite, and I took the road team in the game prior. Obviously, Texas, Oklahoma neutral. Game after this, road favorite. Game after this, that road favorite. This was the most confident I was in a home team, and so
stick to your guns, man. If you're confident, stick to it.
Trust your gut, Jordan.
But we are just not great as a uniform.
No,
all across
unanimously.
So, like, we should make games.
Do we have a set out there for our unanimous picks?
I did a couple of weeks ago, and then I stopped. I think we're sitting at we were 4-6 a couple of weeks ago. I think we're sitting at like 6 and 10, 6 and 10, 5 and 8. Yeah, whatever it is. We've been making great picks. Like 3 of the 4 of us are above 500, but when we pick together, it's disastrous.
Yeah, nice, for that reason and the ability to make up some games here, I'll go Ole Miss. Just ATS board. Not confident at all.
Jordan, I'm a little disappointed in you. That was your confidence pick, and you're gonna lose out on money on that one. You're gonna be kicking yourself on Sunday when we see the Tigers win. I don't know. I don't know where Parks would go with this. I think he might have saved you and taken Jackson Dart in Ole Miss on the road, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. I'm feeling all right with where me and Reese are sitting right now.